I'm going to pin you. Spotlight for everybody. Yay. Okay. I will do a quick intro of our lovely Corrine. Corrine is a graphic designer, quilter, pet lover, and color enthusiast. She aims to make colorful quilts that blend the graphic patterns of the design world with the time-honored tradition of patchwork. She's a fan of both modern and traditional quilts and loves seeing how the two styles can work together. She refers to her style as graphic quilting because she likes bold graphic shapes and bright colors. She's been quilting for almost a decade and is the daughter of a quilter. She keeps it weird currently in Austin, Texas.
Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
Excellent. Let's try that. One. Let's see how that goes. Do you see the PDF? I don't actually see what you're seeing.
Yes, say welcome mortals.
Excellent. Well, welcome mortals. As you can see, I'm a little obsessed with Halloween, so I was very excited when you all asked if I would come chat about some of my Halloween quilts, because I could talk your ears off for a very long time, and I'm going to try my best not to. So I'm Corrine. That was a perfect introduction. That's who I am. I'm obsessed with Halloween and Christmas. You'll see it in my slideshow. I'm going to give you kind of my quilty background and go into some of the Halloween quilts I've done, the Halloween patterns I have. Let's get started. Let's see if I can get this to go. There we go. So that's me. And that is my bright pink glitter skeleton that I made. I just bought a foam thing from Michael's and just crafty all around. And who doesn't need a hot pink glitter skeleton? Let's be honest. As you can see, I'm a little obsessed with pink. So I am actually the daughter of a quilter. And we grew up, you know, just telling our mom, hey, I want to be this for Halloween. And she'd make the costumes. And so we were always decked out to the nines. And my parents are a bit obsessed with decorating the house for the seasons. So our house was always just, you know, kind of crazy. And at Halloween, it would literally turn into a haunted house, which you'll see in the next slide. But here are my sisters and I. I am Jem from, or I'm actually Aja from Jem and the Holograms in the first one. My sister is Alice. And then of course our Disney costumes. I had to have pink for the Sleeping Beauty costume because obviously. And then I'm Little Bo Peep in the next one. My sister's a French maid. My little sister's a little witch. She is not dressed up in the second one. I do not know what's going on there, but these are the only pictures I had on my computer somehow. So I was like, I'm putting these in there. All right, so this is just a sample of how crazy my parents are and our family is. Their house is a bit of a destination in the neighborhood at Halloween. I mean, people don't get to go inside, but the inside, as you can see from the dining room table, like is decked out just as much as the front yard. And every year my dad adds more. Like we like to joke that if you can't think of something to buy for my father, that just get him more Halloween stuff to decorate with, because he just goes all out. And as he carved that pumpkin, he carves all the pumpkins. He's career Air Force retired, but he's an amazing artist. So we always like to see what new pumpkin creations he comes up with. But he and my mom just have a lot of fun, especially at Christmas and Halloween, just kind of going a little bit crazy. So this is my flair added to it. I've lived in some small duplexes. I live in an apartment right now, so I don't get to decorate quite like my parents, but pink and orange is kind of my Halloween thing, pink in general. And then these are some of my doggies. So the top two, the Beanie Babies, those are the ones I currently have. And then down below, you see my little white senior pom-pom Tom-Tom, who I adopted when he was 10. He was with us for 2 years. And you can see they absolutely love being dressed up in Halloween costumes. I really don't. And this picture of me as Tinkerbell in college, I added because it kind of was my adult intro into my sewing obsession. I grew up, of course, with a quilting mom, so I had spent time on her machine and knew like how to hand sew, and I just grew up being a crafty, crazy person. Um, but sewing didn't really bite me until my senior year in college. I wanted a Halloween costume. I wanted to make it. I borrowed my friend's sewing machine, which was a terrible sewing machine. But I somehow got it done, and that's my Itsy bear. I got him my senior year of college. She's 17 now. And I somehow made that, which I was just really excited. And it really just after graduation, I just wanted to sew more. And it worked out because my parents bought their three girls pretty nice sewing machines for our college graduation. So I lucked out and all of a sudden I had a Viking interlude with the computerized stuff. And so I just went to town making handbags and all sorts of home deck projects. And I really did not get into quilting until about 10 or 11 years ago. I'm from the DC area, and I relocated to Austin, Texas about 10, 11 years ago for my job. And of course, I waited until I was halfway across the country from my quilting mother to start quilting, which was very poor timing. This is the first quilt I ever made. It's queen size. They're all 5-inch squares, but I bought fat quarters because I didn't know what a charm pack was. So I had to cut them all down, and it's very lopsided. The picture's not great, but it was a labor of love. It took about a year. And I did not love quilting until I was done with it. But once I finished it and put it on my bed, I was like, whoa, I can make something like this. And, the process is fun. And I'm a graphic designer in my career. So I just automatically was like, what other things can I do with this quilting stuff? I love fabric. I had a fabric collection before I was a quilter. So I've been adding to my fabric museum for a long time. And I was like, I can finally do something other than make bags with this stuff. And I just really went to town. I'm the type of person that when I kind of fall in love with something, I want to know everything. So I, at the very beginning, was reading all the tutorials about applique and all sorts of things. And I want to try all the products. I want to try all the methods and figure out what works best for me. And that's what I try to encourage people to do, because I might love, freezer paper applique, but other people might prefer raw edge, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just fun to try the different products, do the different things, and find out what you find fun and go with that. And so I really got really into quilting when I started my old blog, which is still up. It's mustlovequilts.com. It might be mustlovequilts.wordpress.com. I'm not sure anymore. There are some tutorials on there. You'll see them along the bottom of the screen that actually gained me a little bit of a following. I did a couple quilts for Moda Bake Shop back in the day. So if you visit the old blog, I would print to PDF anything that you really want to keep tutorial wise, because I will likely be taking the blog down at the end of the year and redirecting to my actual website, which is CorrineSovey.com. It's a little confusing. I'm going to transfer some of the content, but not all of it. So if you see something you like, print to PDF. That way you can have it forever. So a couple of the Halloween things I did back then. I have a free candy corn quilt tutorial. I go a little bit crazy with design, and I don't always use the typical quilter's method of working with traditional shapes, traditional angles. I usually design first and figure out how to make it a quilt later. And that's part of the fun for me. But with the candy corn quilt, it was interesting because I kind of figured out a way to rotate the fabrics on your cutting mat to get what I thought was the perfect candy corn shape. Because oftentimes you either have the really narrow ones that are the 30 degrees or the really wide ones at the 60 degrees. So I wanted a 45-degree one. It was a whole process. It was a long time ago, but the quilt's pretty fun. You can make it with scraps. I chose to do the triangle binding, which was, an experience. It wasn't bad. And then the other one is the pumpkin pattern I designed 8 years ago. It is actually not on the blog, so I'm going to email it to Elizabeth to send out to y'all. It has my old branding on it, so I just want y'all to have it. I need to get it up on my website at some point, but it's not there, and I wanted to make sure that you guys could have it if you wanted it. It's just for a simple block. It can be turned into a quilt. My friend made a placemat, all sorts of fun stuff. So once I got into quilting, I started designing my own quilts to enter into shows. I've had quilts in, I think, every quilt con but the first one, because I wasn't quilting yet. These are some of them. The mid-century modern one was in this past year, along with Christmas cheer. The center picture up here was my local traditional guild. I joined both my guilds when I became a quilter, my traditional guild and my modern guild in Austin, and just made wonderful friends. And sadly, we haven't had our show in Austin in a while because of COVID, but next year we're looking forward to it. And then this was my Under the Radar quilt, which actually won first place in piecing in 2016 at QuiltCon. You can see it there with its ribbon and then it hanging at Sisters. They actually put me on the quilt on a banner outside the convention center, which I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And they actually sent me one. So I have one rolled up in my closet that I need to figure out how to clean and display somewhere. The quilt was also in the Modern Quilt anthology book that the MQG put out. So that was a fun little quilt for me that just kind of took my design ideas to a different place. And, you know, I just like to create new things that I haven't seen before. This was back in 2016, I think. So as I kept designing, people kept asking for patterns. I'm a graphic designer, so I thought, hey, I have the software, I can write patterns. I like figuring out easy ways for people to do things. These are some of my first patterns. Modern Trellis was the very first. I think I followed that up with Texas and the other ones. But they were some of my early patterns back when Craftsy was Craftsy and had patterns available. And so I did that for a while. And then I came out with Block Party, which I wanted to highlight because I think this was really the evolution of what was leading to my current design style. I love graphic bold shapes. I love balancing color. I love how they play off of each other. And so I designed this back in 2016, 2017. And then in 2019, I think a week before Christmas, I had this idea for a Christmas quilt inspired by the Block Party aesthetic. And I designed it in a day and pieced it in a couple days and put it on Instagram. It's my Christmas cheer quilts. I was obsessed with it. It was never supposed to be a pattern. I never thought people would buy it because it has a lot of techniques in it. And a lot of what I saw was more basic, easier quilting patterns that were popular. But the Instagram response was so overwhelming that I decided to try. You know, worst that could happen is people wouldn't make it. And I spent almost a year writing the pattern because it's a beast. It's like 14 different blocks. It's not hard at all. You just have to have some gumption to get through it if you haven't done some of the techniques before. But it's got a little bit of foundation paper piecing. I am not a paper piecer, so all of my foundation paper piecing is very user-friendly and very simple. You know, it's got the inset circles or applique for the ornaments. The big tree was the hard part because it's a giant template. And there are a couple different paper templates, traditional piecing. Yeah, I spent a long time writing the pattern. And then when I finally sent it out to testers, I was like, I get to finally design a Halloween pattern now that I have time. And that's when I designed Hocus Pocus, which is probably my most popular pattern, but it and Christmas cheer kind of stay neck and neck, except for right now because it's spooky season. So Hocus Pocus is a bit in the lead at the moment. And I, again, put it on Instagram. And I think I said in the post, this will be a pattern next year, which was not acceptable to any of the people that followed me on Instagram. And they were very vocal about it. So I literally barely slept for about 3 weeks while I wrote the pattern, had the blocks tested one by one as the blocks were finished. I was finished writing them. And I managed to get that pattern out a few weeks later, which was crazy. And I don't ever want to do again because it was just, I think I was sick for a week after I spent those 3 weeks, like just, I literally was barely sleeping, but it was worth it. And I love the quilt and I've made it several times. So this is the cover version. Again, it has multiple techniques. So you've got your traditional piecing, the bats, the cat, the pumpkins, the stripes are all traditionally pieced. The potion bottles, the stars are actually Y seams, which I think are super fun. Not everyone loves them, but they're a good experience and there aren't too many of them. The eyes, inset circle and applique. There's some templates for the witch hat. The boots are paper pieced and the broom, the bottom part of the broom is paper pieced. So the thing I have really started to enjoy about this style of pattern is it works very well with my ADHD. I can do lots of different things and just kind of bounce around. And I think at first some people think they're really overwhelming looking because there are so many different blocks and techniques in them. But, you know, if you tackle it like one block at a time as a mini quilt, it's actually a lot of fun to get to, you know, just keep your brain going the whole time. And you know, you can knock out the pumpkins first and then you can knock out the stars, or you know, you have just these little chunks of projects so you don't feel like you're leaving a project in the middle of it. You can sit in one night and finish your bats, you can sit in one night and finish your cat, and then, you know, go about your day and come back to it. So I actually think they're really quite nice for people that you know, want little projects, because each block really is a little project, and then at the end you get this big awesome project. So this is actually the first Hocus Pocus quilt I made. I made a little bit of an edit up there to the witch hat, and then I originally had the potion bottles as curved piecing, and decided to do them with traditional piecing, which I actually like better. So this is my phosphor version. Both of these quilts are actually out getting quilted right now. It took me a year. Sometimes I like to, I'm really more of a quilt topper than a quilter. I make a lot of quilt tops, and now I'm trying to get them long armed by friends, and I'm super excited about it. But this is my phosphor version. I love bright colors, so when I saw Phosphor by Libs Elliott, I had to make this. And then if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, I like to post a lot of mock-ups of my patterns in different fabric lines. I know I always have trouble trying to figure out what will that fabric look like in that quilt pattern. And I'm spoiled and lucky because I can put it into Adobe Illustrator and see what it looks like. And not everyone has that capability. So I try to post at least a few mock-ups of different colorways or different fabric lines for different quilts. This is the Spooky and Sweeter line by Art Gallery Fabrics that came out this year. I had another version with last year's Spooky and Sweet line. These are the fabric requirements for these are posted on my website under mock-ups. I'm trying to start that to be a thing where I put them on the mock-up tab and not just on Instagram, because I think it's helpful for people to have that information and not have to scroll through their Instagram feed. So then after Hocus Pocus, I designed my cat-o'-lantern quilt, which was actually inspired by the fabric line that I used, which is Kitty Corn Moda. They had this cute little cat on a pumpkin. I was like, well, I need a quilt with a cat on a pumpkin. And so Binks makes another debut here. And this quilt actually works up pretty quickly. I think the next one is my ridiculous photoshopped version of my solids quilt. So this is it in solids. And so this one has the spider web has 1/4 inch fusible bias tape applique, which I go through the whole I go through all the directions in the pattern of how to do that process, as well as a couple tips and tricks for a couple different applique things. And then I think the stars and the moons are this. You know, I honestly don't remember if this. I think you have the option to applique or paper piece the stars. And then the candy corns are templates. But it's just a fun little quilt to play around with. Here are some of those mock-ups with lines from this year. These are on Instagram. I don't know if they're on my website yet. But I love seeing what quilts can look like, you know, in all the different, I'm just obsessed with fabric. So I get to play with fabric on my computer, which is fun. And then I cross my fingers and hope someone is inspired to actually make it so I can see the real version. So that's always my favorite thing is when people buy a kit or you know, find out what the fabric requirements are and they go and make it. And all of a sudden you know, it's like I made the quilt, but I didn't make the quilt. And that's pretty cool. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my patterns, particularly the sampler ones. They all have coloring pages. They generally have a solid and a scrappy print option in terms of fabric requirements. But I think the most important thing to share is that they're fully illustrated step by step for all the blocks and all the construction of the entire quilt. So they're long. But I am a visual person and I can communicate that through words, but I am a person that wants to see it. So I decided when I was doing these patterns that I was literally just going to draw it all out. And that's pretty much what I've stuck with ever since. So you see a sample here from Hocus Pocus of the coloring page with the colors labeled and part of the bat assembly. So you get the written and the illustrated directions. You do want to have a general knowledge of foundation paper piecing and your preferred method of applique. I don't dive into detail about those just because there are lots of great tutorials online. Everyone appliques differently. Everyone has a different preferred method. So the templates generally will tell you, well, they do. They tell you whether or not the applique seam allowance is provided. The templates are very detailed and with what you need to do with them. And then here's some, Cataliner was a little different because it was designed as a fat quarter friendly pattern, as opposed to Hocus Pocus and Christmas Cheer, which were yardage patterns. And so those actually have some cutting diagrams in them. Hocus Pocus and Christmas Cheer have generous fabric allowances, but with fat quarters, as you can see, sometimes it gets pretty tight. So I wanted to include those. And then just another example of the illustration from the Catalina pattern. So this is one that I have coming out later this month, but it's not out yet. It's my Batty Bat quilt. I was going to use the bats from Hocus Pocus and make a stripy bat quilt, but then I was like, I can design more bats. So I sat and spent about 5 hours making bats in Illustrator. And I think I have like 6 other bats that I'll use eventually, but this was my favorite. And so I put it in a quilt, threw some stripes in. I was like, it needs something else. So that I started playing around with the half square triangle and playing with color and ultimately came up with this, which I super love. And it's a nice, easy beginner quilt. You know, it's a lot of stripes and half square triangles. The hardest part is the bat body is a template, but it's a very easy template. And it's forgiving. So if you mess it up, it's still going to be okay. If you have any Batman lovers in your life, it's the perfect Batman quilt. My brother-in-law is obsessed with Batman, so this is currently in the works for a Christmas present, using some Ruby Star Speckled. But he has been asking for a Batman quilt since he married my sister, and that's been many years. So I feel like he gave me the best nephew, so I'll give him his Batman quilt. So I also am a new Bernina ambassador. I got a Bernina 590 this year, which I'd been sewing for 15 years on the same machine, and it's kind of been a whirlwind and kind of crazy. The machine just, it's very fancy, and there are so many things I didn't know I needed. But the reason I bring it up is if you are going to buy a Bernina in the next 30 days, I have a treat for you. Just if you were thinking you were going to get one, I have $100 rebate coupon I can send you that is completely separate from the dealers. It's part of the ambassador program. When we do events, we can offer this rebate to anyone who is planning to purchase a Bernina in the next 30 days. So if that is you, shoot me an email and I can get a coupon out to you so that you save even more money than what the dealer offers you. Oh, totally forgetting. Hey, Boo. I am doing tutorials on the We Also website, and this is going to be my Halloween project. It's a door hanging, wall hanging. There's actually a little spider web that comes off of the pumpkin. I have applique and embroidery options for the Hey Boo, and the rest is just traditionally pieced with some edge stitching. But I call my dogs Boo all the time, so I was like, I have to make this. So I have tutorials coming up over the next year or so on the We Also blog for different quilty sewing things. And this is going to be the first one, which I'm really excited about. So the maple quilt on the left with my doggie is one of the first quilts I messed with in Illustrator because I wanted it to be fat quarter, charm, and layer cake friendly. So I needed a specific size. I made the quilt, my dog slept on it, my sister stole it. So it's actually been hanging in my sister's house for the past like 7 years. And this past weekend, I decided enough was enough. I want one. So I made myself the black, pink, and orange version over the weekend. And I'm thinking about turning it into just a very simple 9-patch maple leaf pattern so people that don't like thinking about math, they can just, look at it, know how many charms they need, know how many layer cakes they need, whatever the case may be. If you don't like math, then this pattern might help a little bit. So I have that coming up. That is most of my stuff. I feel like I've talked your ear off. I am offering 20% off of all patterns in the shop, all PDF patterns on my website. You use IAQ Spooky 20 as your code. It's good through Friday, so you can use it till the end of the day Friday. And then I believe we're doing this again at the end of the month. So there will be another code that you can get then once the Batty Back quilts and the maple leaf pattern are out. Oh, I have one more thing to show you. I forgot about this. I'm going to unshare my screen, and can you all see me?
Yes, we can see you, but yeah,
Okay.
you can unshare.
No, you're not going to be able to see it unless
Yeah, unshare.
It is a pumpkin tote. Let me see if I move it around. Let me turn my background off. Let's see. Y'all can see my messy sewing room.
We can see you.
I know, I'm trying to figure out how to turn the background off because you can't see the stem. It kind of disappears. Do you know how I turn the background off?
You have to go into your settings on Zoom.
My settings, which I can't find. Oh, maybe here. Nope, not there either. All right, I'll send you a picture of this. I should have had a picture. It's a pumpkin tote that I'm working on. And I'll have a picture of that next time because this background thing isn't working. But
the background is fantastic.
I know, I love the background too. I always have the backgrounds and I'm like, I have to have the background. I hadn't thought about the fact that the pumpkin wouldn't show up. But I'll send y'all a picture of the pumpkin tote. That's something I have coming up too. So yeah, if you have any questions or
anybody have any questions? Because I'm always so chatty and ask all the questions. Does anyone want to unmute and ask a question? Or type it in the chat or whatever.
I just want to say congrats on the Bernina ambassador. That's awesome.
I'm super excited about it. Everyone at Bernina, I'm just so impressed. We went to a retreat a couple weeks ago for the new ambassadors, and I got to meet all the people that work there and, you know, some of their sister company partners. And I've just been so incredibly impressed, not just with the machines, but with the people.
Mhm.
After sewing on the same machine for 15 years, that was a great starter machine. I just didn't know what I was missing. And
So is
it's
your
a
new
lot of
one
fun.
have embroidery and everything on it? There's a
It
couple of
does.
embroiderers in here. Oh
I
yeah, so
am
can we,
about
are
to
we thinking
learn.
that you're gonna expand into embroidery line a little bit?
Yes, that is my
Oh,
goal.
yes.
So I plan to learn all the things first because that's what I do. I have to soak it all in, and then my goal is to design some embroidery patterns, some embroidery projects, some quilting design so you can quilt in a hoop is a big project that I want to work on. But I have so many ideas, and I just love designing that. I feel like embroidery is a great way where I can design something fun that you know, people can just put in the hoop and work out and make a pretty thing a little bit faster than what a long quilt takes. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'd never really thought about too much embroidery before I got the 590, and that was the reason I went with that machine, because I had started looking at embroidery machines and was like, this would actually be a lot of fun. So I'm pretty excited about that. I literally, in the next couple weeks, once I get the Batty Bat pattern out, I am buckling down and learning all the embroidery things.
Nice. So I know you love Halloween, but do you have any other upcoming, like different, like Christmas or anything else?
Not that I can talk about yet.
Oh, okay.
I have quite the backlog of patterns I'm trying to get out there. The ones I'm kind of pushing ahead are the Halloween ones, and then I have the mid-century modern quilt that I had in QuiltCon together. That pattern will be coming. And then I have several Christmas designs that I just need to pick which one I want to go with. I'm a work in the season type of person, so this whole working ahead of time is very new and strange to me. Like I like, but for me, I mean, Halloween starts in July, in my opinion. So, and Christmas starts November 1st, but I'm gonna have to like speed that up. So I have some stuff in the works, just nothing concrete yet.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. We all agreed that we all want to be curators of our own fabric museum. So thank you for that, fabric museum.
So I'm
line.
totally designing an embroidery thing that you can embroider your name with. Like I'm gonna have Corrine's Fabric Museum and Sewing Lounge on this big wall hanging once I figure out how to do it. That I'm super excited about, because yeah, we all need signs, and there are fabric museums. We're curators. I use solids a lot, but I love print fabric, and I've been collecting it since before I was a quilter. I went to a quilt show with my mom once and just bought fabric, and I wasn't even sewing. I just wanted it. So I'm a bit obsessed with fabric.
I don't know that anybody could relate to that at all.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly.
What? You just get fabric because you just love it? Well, yeah. Yes. Thank you for the free pumpkin for the free pumpkin pattern too. Super cute. Actually, I'm kind of excited about that. So
Yay, good.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Corrine.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is fantastic.
Yeah, super appreciate it.
Excellent. So I am actually also going to email you, Elizabeth, a PDF with some hyperlinks so that people can kind of get to a few of the things that I mentioned in the presentation, just the old blog, the new blog, all of the code in there. I'll get that to you this afternoon.
Great. Thank you.
So that you can send it to people. It'll just have some of the details from the slideshow so that people can just click on it from their phones or their tablets or their computers or whatever and go directly to whatever they're looking for.
Oh, perfect. And I'll put that with the video once it gets uploaded to the site in the community area as well.
Sounds
so
good.
Watch for that. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. It's been a pleasure.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Are we signing off now?
You can sign off. We might stay in
I'm
chat.
not used to the protocol. All right,
know.
I actually have to get back to work, but it
Okay,
was
deal.
lovely, and I appreciate the fact that y'all invited me. So thank you so much.
Yes, until next time, Corinne. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Oh my gosh, her stuff is so cute.
I agree.
Yeah, too funny about her design process. Like she puts out, she's like, it's coming next year. And they're like, no, it's not. And she's like, what? Oh, I have to make that now. Yes, you do.
Tougher with a boss.
Nothing like peer pressure. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love like the Batman one, and then she had it in the blue and the gray. I was like, oh, slam dunk.
I have several grandsons who would love that, I think.
Yes, Delene. So that one, if you wait until we talk to her again, she'll give us another code and that pattern will be out. So, because it's not out yet, but we can buy it later using the other code for 20% off, I believe. Yeah.
Great discount. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll put that up there with all the links, and then we'll get that PDF too.
Yes.
As well as that pumpkin tabletop or whatever she had, that which was adorable as well. Yes, I see another new face, Azaria. She's like, what? You're on mute though. Welcome, so glad you're here.
Actually, I'm not Azaria. My name is Marianne Simmons. Azaria is my granddaughter.
Oh, I love it. And she uses it for school or something, and you're like,
yeah, fine. She did last year, and I don't know how to take her name off and put mine on yet. I have to get with my son and have him do that.
You're like, I need the tech crew. So Marianne, correct?
Marianne, Maryanne, 2 separate names, but I go by both.
All right.
And
where are you from?
I'm from Cherry Valley, California, and I'm fairly new to quilting. I've been a sewer all my life. I crochet, I knit, I embroider, I do everything else. And I finally have gotten around to jumping into the quilting program. So I'm here.
Well, welcome to your own personal, what is it? Fabric museum and curation of all things good.
Yes, and I'm like everybody else. I have a ton of fabric that I haven't figured out what I'm going to do anything with, but I love them.
Exactly. Yep. That's why, yes. That's why we have our visitors to come on and show us what we should maybe sew. Yeah. I love her variety of the solids, but then with the play of the colors too.
Right.
It really changes it. Like I like to see the options because you're like, wow.
Yeah, and then there's too many and you're like, ooh, I don't know. And then it's new fabric and then you're like, ooh, I must buy that. Like, what is it? Kitty corn? Like, oh, yes. Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Well, okay, looking up on our calendar, we have a few things coming up for the rest of the month. So we have our normal meetup next week at 1 o'clock. And then we have on the 28th is our 7 p.m., but Corrine will be coming and joining us during that as well. Sorry. So it'll probably, we'll probably do a short show and tell after Corinne's thing. So if you want to come, it probably will be the same slideshow and stuff, but she'll have a new discount. Maybe you'll have some other questions by then as well to ask her after you get to kind of see and take a look around her website and patterns and stuff. So you feel free to join us again and then pop in right after that for the regular show and tell. But next week we have our regular meetup. So yeah. Anybody have anything else? We're all good and happy and doing well.
You could go to the dentist for me this afternoon and I'd be happier.
What's that, Delene?
I said, you could take my dental appointment this afternoon and I'd be happier.
I went to the eye doctor today and I'm expecting glasses in a week or so. So there you go.
I had eye surgery last week, so I'm expecting another eye surgery and then glasses.
But you're doing fine,
too.
even after the surgery, all is well.
It was cataract. I can see really good out of one eye, not so good out of the other eye.
Oh my
Isn't
gosh,
that
but you're
weird,
like,
Aline?
yeah,
That
Yeah,
is so weird.
It is weird.
That's where I'm at.
yeah. Well, I'm
But if
glad.
I should wear my glasses or not, because I can't see to read without them, but it looks nicer looking out without them. So
Yeah, yeah, your prescription's changed, probably. Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's the week of eyeballs, the month of eyes, maybe. Yes.
yep.
And then if
Getting
we,
ready for all those eyeballs for Halloween.
yeah, I know. I'm like, if we get the cattle lantern or whatever, there's a couple eyeballs in there we could sew even. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Sounds good. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. It's always nice. Marcia, you too, even though you were driving, hope you were safe. All right. Sounds good. Okay. We will see everybody next week. Thanks for coming.
Bye.